Buongiorno, hello, and welcome to our podcast episode number 60, Unholy War. An epic battle between good and evil unfolds in Spain. I am Timothy, and I am here with my good friend Thomas. Tonight, we are going to discuss a film called The Pope's Exorcist. The Pope's Exorcist is a 2023 supernatural horror film about Father Gabriele Amorth, the Pope's personal exorcist, who visits an Italian village and encounters a man seemingly possessed by a demon. He later faces challenges from within the church while attempting to help a boy named Henry in Spain, who is also being tormented by supernatural forces. Well, Tom, did you enjoy The Pope's Exorcist?
Oh, I did not enjoy it at all, Timothy, but let me tell you why.
Well, Tom, you know that I generally like horror movies, so of course I enjoyed The Pope's Exorcist. It had a good story, some decent scares, and the acting was quite good as well. Russell Crowe did an excellent job portraying Father Amorth.
Well, to me it seemed more like a bad B-movie than anything else. The plot holes were huge, and I didn't buy into any of it. And yes, Russell Crowe is a great actor, but he couldn't save this film for me. Plus, the special effects looked cheap and outdated.
Well, Thomas, you do have a point about the plot hole, but I think that's more of a common issue with horror movies in general. And the special effects were good enough to create some scary moments. As for Crowe's performance, I thought he really captured the essence of Father Amorth.
Well, maybe you just have a higher tolerance for cheesy horror films, Tim. It was just too over the top and unrealistic. And yes, Crowe did an okay job portraying his character, but I didn't find him particularly convincing as an exorcist or priest.
Well, Tom, I can understand where you're coming from. But let me tell you something. One of the things I really enjoyed about this film was the way it portrayed Father Amorth as a humorous and practical man who wasn't afraid to use unconventional methods when dealing with demonic possessions. In fact, there's a scene where he actually uses a St. Benedict metal sacramental as a sort of psychological tool against the demon, which I found quite fascinating.
Well, I guess that's an interesting perspective, Timothy. But to me, it just seemed like the filmmakers were trying too hard to humanize this character and make him more relatable. I think they could have done a better job balancing his personality traits without making him seem less credible as an exorcist.
Well, maybe that's because you don't appreciate the fact that sometimes people need to see their heroes in a more human light. It doesn't diminish their achievements or abilities. It actually makes them more relatable and sympathetic. And speaking of character, I thought the way they handled Father Thomas Escobar, played by Alex Esso, was quite interesting. His role as an assistant exorcist who's not particularly experienced but still willing to help was quite compelling.
Yes, I agree about Father Thomas Escobar. Alex Esso did a good job portraying the character. However, I felt like his storyline with Julia and Amy wasn't explored enough. They could have delved deeper into the family dynamics and how their personal struggles influenced the possession of Henry.
That's true, Tom. There were some missed opportunities in terms of character development. But I think the overall story arc was quite engaging. The fact that they managed to connect Father Amorth's experiences with a dark secret from the Spanish Inquisition added an interesting historical element to the film. And let's not forget about the climactic exorcism scene, which was quite intense and well executed.
Well, I suppose there were some positive aspects to the movie as well, Timothy. However, overall, my impression of The Pope's Exorcist is that it's a film with an intriguing premise, but ultimately falls short in delivering an engaging and coherent story. It tries too hard to be scary and shocking while forgetting about the importance of character development and believability.
Well, I can understand your perspective, Tom, but as someone who enjoys horror movies and supernatural thriller, I found The Pope's Exorcist to be an entertaining film with enough scares and suspense to keep me engaged throughout its runtime. It's not a masterpiece by any means, but it certainly was an enjoyable watch for me.
Well, I suppose we'll have to agree to disagree on this one, Timothy. But let me ask you something else about The Pope's Exorcist. Did you know that the film was originally going to be based on a true story, but they had to change it due to the Vatican's strict guidelines on representing exorcisms in media?
No, I didn't know that, Tom. That's quite interesting. So what were some of these guideline changes made by the Vatican? Were they more concerned about historical accuracy or maintaining their image?
Well, according to reports, the Vatican was particularly concerned with portraying exorcisms in a way that wasn't sensationalized or exploitative. They also requested that any references to demonic possessions be linked to actual cases from church records rather than fictional scenarios. As a result, the filmmakers had to change some aspects of the story and characters while still staying true to Father Amorth's experiences as an exorcist.
That makes sense, Tom. I guess it's understandable that they wouldn't want such an important subject matter to be handled carelessly or inaccurately. Speaking of accuracy, do you know if there were any real-life cases similar to the one depicted in The Pope's Exorcist involving Father Amorth and a demonic presence in Spain?
Yes. Actually, there was a case similar to what's portrayed in the film. In 1976, Father Gabriele Amorth was called to investigate an exorcism in Spain involving a young boy named José who was exhibiting signs of demonic possession. The boy's family claimed that he had been possessed after playing with a Ouija board. However, unlike what's shown in the movie where Henry is possessed by multiple demons, José's case involved only one demon according to Father Amorth's account.
That's quite fascinating, Tom. I had no idea there was actually a real-life case that inspired this movie. It just goes to show how much research and effort went into bringing this story to life, despite the limitations imposed by the Vatican. Well, thank you for sharing that interesting trivia with us today.
You're welcome, Timothy. It's always nice to learn something new about a movie or topic we discuss on our podcast. And now let me ask you, what are your thoughts on next week's episode? We'll be discussing the 1982 psychological thriller Don't Look Now, starring Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie.
Oh, I'm quite excited about that, Tom. Don't Look Now is one of my favorite films from the early 80s. I think it's a perfect blend of suspense, drama, and horror. The story revolves around a couple who recently lost their daughter and find themselves in Venice, where they encounter a series of strange events involving clairvoyant children. It will be interesting to see how our discussion unfolds next week.
Well, Timothy, I must admit that even though my personal experience with horror films isn't as extensive as yours, I did find the concept of the Pope's Exorcist intriguing. However, after watching it, I couldn't help but feel like there were some significant differences between what was shown on screen and what actually happened in Father Amorth's life.
You're right, Tom. There are indeed some notable discrepancies between the film and the real life experiences of Father Gabriele Amorth, as documented in his book, An Exorcist Tells His Story. For instance, in the movie, they emphasize more on the Spanish Inquisition angle, while the book focuses more on Amorth's own exorcisms and encounters with demons during his time as an exorcist for the Vatican.
That's true, Timothy. I also found it interesting how they portrayed Father Thomas Esquivel in the film compared to his actual role in Father Amorth's life. In real life, Esquivel was a close friend and assistant to Amorth who helped him with many of his exorcisms, but his character is depicted more as an apprentice learning from Amorth in the Pope's Exorcist.
Yes, I agree with you there, Tom. Another major difference between the film and Father Amorth's book is the level of detail provided about actual exorcisms. In the movie, they showcase only one lengthy exorcism scene involving Henry, while in An Exorcist Tells His Story, Amorth recounts numerous cases with varying degrees of severity and duration.
Well, Timothy, it's clear that there are some significant differences between the book and the film adaptation. I suppose it's understandable, since they had to make certain changes, due to censorship or creative liberties taken by the filmmakers. But overall, what did you think of The Pope's Exorcist as a movie? Did you find it entertaining despite these discrepancies?
Yes, Tom, I would say that I found The Pope's Exorcist to be an engaging and suspenseful film. While there were some aspects that deviated from Father Amorth's account in the book, I think it still managed to capture the essence of his experiences as an exorcist. And as someone who enjoys horror movies and supernatural thrillers, I found the film quite entertaining overall.
Well, Timothy, I'm glad you enjoyed it despite its shortcomings. Personally, I think there are better films out there that deal with similar themes without resorting to sensationalism or inaccuracies. But hey, at least we got to have an interesting discussion about it.
Yes, Tom, I agree that there are better films out there, but I still think it's important for people to watch them and form their own opinions about it. Speaking of actors in The Pope's Exorcist, do you want to talk about how they portrayed their characters?
Sure, Timothy. Let's discuss the performances in this film. Firstly, I thought Russell Crowe did an exceptional job as Father Gabriele Amorth. He captured the character's stern demeanor and conviction in his beliefs quite well. The way he delivered his lines had a sense of authority that was quite impressive.
Unquestionably, Tom.
I couldn't agree more with you on Russell Crowe's portrayal of Father Amorth.
He really brought the character to life on screen and made us believe in his mission as an exorcist. And, you know, it wasn't just Crowe who did a great job here. Daniel Zovatto also gave an intense performance as Henry the Young Man possessed by demons. The way he changed his voice and mannerisms during those possession scenes was quite chilling to watch.
Yes, Timothy. I have to say that both Crowe and Zovatto did a fantastic job in their respective roles. They had great on-screen chemistry, which helped make the exorcism scenes all the more gripping. Alex Esso also played Father Thomas Esquivel quite well. She managed to capture the character's loyalty towards Amorth while adding some much-needed comic relief in certain scenes.
I completely agree with you there, Tom. The chemistry between Crowe and Zovatto was definitely a highlight of this film. And speaking of Esso, you're right about her portrayal of Father Thomas. She brought some much-needed levity to the story without compromising its seriousness or tonal consistency.
Indeed, Timothy. The supporting cast also did an admirable job in their roles. Franco Nero as Cardinal Michael Olbert was convincing as a high-ranking church official who struggles with his faith and doubts about the reality of demonic possession. His character's arc added depth to the story and made us question our own beliefs alongside him.
Unquestionably, Tom. The entire cast did an amazing job in bringing this story to life on screen. They all seemed to be fully committed to their roles, and it showed in their performances. As someone who enjoys horror movies and supernatural thrillers, I found the acting in The Pope's Exorcist to be one of its strongest aspects.
Well, Timothy, I'm glad you enjoyed the performances in this film as much as I did. While there were some issues with accuracy and sensationalism, I still believe that it can serve as an interesting conversation starter about faith, beliefs, and the supernatural world. And who knows? Maybe our discussion will spark someone's interest in exploring these topics further through other mediums such as books or documentaries.
You're unquestionably right, Tom. It's important for us to acknowledge the cultural impact this film might have had, even with its flaws. The Pope's Exorcist, much like other films in the horror genre, often serves as a reflection of societal fears and anxieties. In this case, it touches upon themes such as faith doubt and the struggle between good and evil, which are universal concepts that resonate with audiences across different cultures and backgrounds.
Unquestionably, Tim. The film's portrayal of Father Amorth and his experiences as an exorcist can be seen as a commentary on the role of religion in modern society, particularly within the context of the Catholic Church. It raises questions about the validity of such practices in today's world, where science and reason often challenge traditional beliefs. This could spark discussions among viewers about their own personal beliefs and values, which is a valuable aspect of any cultural contribution.
Additionally, the film also touches upon issues related to mental health and the ethics of treating patients who may be experiencing psychological distress or delusional behavior. The character Henry serves as an example of this complexity, since it's unclear whether his experiences are genuinely supernatural in nature or if he is suffering from some form of mental illness. This gray area can stimulate conversations about the importance of proper diagnosis and treatment for individuals who may be experiencing similar situations.
Yes, Timothy, you make a valid point there. The ambiguity surrounding Henry's condition adds depth to the story and forces us to question our own assumptions about what constitutes reality. This kind of narrative complexity can encourage viewers to think critically about their beliefs, while also empathizing with characters who may be struggling with issues beyond their control.
And let's not forget the visual aspect of the film, Tom. The production design and special effects team did an outstanding job in creating a visually compelling world that seamlessly blends reality with the supernatural. The use of practical effects for the possession scenes is particularly commendable, as it adds a level of authenticity often lacking in modern horror films, which rely heavily on computer-generated imagery.
Unquestionably, Timothy. The attention to detail in the film's visuals really helps to immerse the viewer into this world where the supernatural feels all too real. It's a testament to the hard work of the entire creative team behind the project. And while we may have our differences when it comes to our personal opinions about the Pope's Exorcist, I think we can both agree that it has made some interesting cultural contributions worthy of discussion and debate.
Indeed, Tom. I think it's safe to say that despite our differences in opinions about certain aspects of the Pope's Exorcist, we both agree that it is an interesting film worth discussing. It raises important questions about faith, belief systems, and the role of science and reason in modern society.
And I think it's important for people to watch films like this one not only for their entertainment value, but also because they can serve as a catalyst for deeper thought and reflection on personal values and beliefs. So if you enjoyed our discussion or have your own thoughts on the Pope's Exorcist, please feel free to share them with us in the comments section below.
As always, we love hearing from our viewers and value their input. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and leave a comment if you enjoyed this episode of Tim and Tom's Film Nights. We hope you join us next time for another exciting discussion about a film that has captured our attention. Until then, happy viewing, everyone.
And remember, folks, disagreements are healthy as long as they're respectful. So if you have strong opinions one way or the other about the Pope's Exorcist, Feel free to share them with us in a civil manner. We love hearing from our fans and can't wait to see what everyone thinks of this film. Until next time,